The Aegean Sea has always been a bridge of communication. In the Aegean world, where man dominates, there is one faith, one mother, the most sacred figure of creation, the Virgin Mary. The miracle working of the holy icon of the Annunciation of the island of Tinos has been known since long ago all over the world. And thousands of Christian souls in every part of our planet feel its graceful influence. The sacred spiritual emotion and the mystical atmosphere present among the mass of believers at the great feasts of the Church move all those who visit the island. With the predominance of Christianity, Mary and her cult dominate in most of the islands. The inhabitants of the Aegean embrace the new religion and form the first Christian communities from the 1st century BC. Rhodes, Kos were first to have bishops and participated in the first ecumenical council, while gradually other islands of the Dodecanese and the Cyclades, Andros, Paros, Santorini, Amorgos, appointed their representatives. Ecclesiastical presence increased on the islands, and so did the diocese, while some became metropolises in the 4th and 5th centuries BC. In this historic milieu, numerous old Christian basilicas were born, even on the Isles. The Virgin Mary is in the forefront. During the iconoclastic period, many icons miraculously find refuge on the Aegean Islands, decorate churches and monasteries, and are the reason why new shrines are built. A distinct position is held by the island of Tinos. The cultural wealth of Tinos has the special characteristic of being derived from both the Orthodox and Catholic traditions, as the island has always had a significant number of inhabitants espousing the Western faith. A point Tinians hold in common, both Orthodox and Catholic, is their deep religious faith and their love of the Virgin Mary in particular. Here in Tinos, since the 11th-12th century, we have coexisted with the Roman Catholics. A third of the population is Catholic Christians. The Christians have their own bishop, Monsignor Nicholas. The Virgin Mary unites us all. In Tinos, we have 2 virgins, 2 churches, and a partition wall. The Virgin Mary unites us all. Christianity began very early in Tinos. This can be established by a cave situated at the Cape of St. Stephen, west of Kionia, where it used to be a sanctuary. Inside the cave there are inscriptions, some painted on the walls with natural dyes, others engraved. On these inscriptions we find names in ancient Greek of locals or travelers, all of them early Christians. What is amazing is that in a majuscule red painted inscription, the first bishop of Cnidus is mentioned. It is in Tinos where centuries later the eminent Lady of the Aegean is located. The holy relic of the miraculous icon of the Immaculate Conception of the Virgin Mary is to be found many centuries later. The Evangelistria is located today at the Church of Our Lady in Tinos. Marian revelations, miraculous events, faith derived from old roots that get stronger through history. A history connected with the Greek national revolution. Greeks consider it a sacred site of honor and respect. Respect, honor, love for the Lady of Tinos, the good fate of Greece. Thousands of miracles are described every year. Believers, pilgrims, and visitors come from all over the world to pay tribute to her. O my Lady of Tinos, with the golden hair, you hold the Christ in your right arm. It is known in our Orthodox faith and in our Church that the dearest among all our saints is our Virgin Lady. She is the most beautiful gift humanity has to offer, a work of divine providence. The Madonna is everywhere in the Aegean. Her presence is dominant in the holy sites of the islands. She is present in relics, in icons, in libraries where great manuscripts are kept. In churches and chapels scattered everywhere, in temples built after offerings to her. She is the liberator, the savior, the Megalochari, she of great grace. The sacred shrine of Tinos with the miraculous icon has become the center of piety and religiosity for the Greek people. But not only for the Greeks, but also for Christians who come from other countries all over the world. She is our mother, our spiritual mother. It is the miraculous icon, the holy site, that gathers thousands of people from every place, every culture, and every religion. All of them are intrigued to see the icon of Our Lady of Tinos, to venerate, to read, and learn about the history of its discovery. The honor and respect to the Virgin, the most sacred and holiest figure of creation, is a tradition that has its roots back in the time of the Apostles. Upon Christianity's advent throughout the Byzantine Empire, Mary was proclaimed a defender and a general of the Greek nation. She dominates throughout the history of the Byzantine and post-Byzantine Hellenism. There is the tradition of the Panigia of Lacherne, who saves Constantinople in 626 AD. There are divine signs in Tinos of the Virgin Mary during the Revolution of 1821. The discovery of the icon of the Virgin is a historical fact which is considered part of the War of Independence in 1821. Thus the belief that the Virgin protects the fight was born. The finding of the icon took place when Greece was in a dramatic situation. Only 2 years ago, 1821, the whole Greek nation had revolted against the tyranny of the Turks. All Greeks believed in the sacredness of their fight, since they fought for the basic ideals which compose the human entity, liberty and national dignity. Thus, when the news spread that on the small island of Tinos the icon of the Virgin was found and the first miracles became known, all Greeks felt great joy and came to believe that its finding was a divine sign, which meant an approval of the fight and a confirmation of the liberation.
Για μας πράγματι άλλαξε η ζωή του νησιού μας.
For us, the life on our island really changed on the 30th of January 1823 when the miraculous icon of Our Lady was found buried under the Tinian soil. According to the narratives, Saint Pelagia had a vision on July 1822 of the Virgin Mary indicating to her the point where the icon was buried. After that, the Ottoman occupation came. Great fear.
Ο κόσμος, μπορώ να πω στην αρχή, δεν έδωσε.
At first, people did not pay enough attention. Our Lady appeared again while Saint Pelagia was sleeping. Then the old woman, terrified, went to Bishop Gabriel and told him once again about the dream. From that day on, excavations began. On July the 23rd, we celebrate the anniversary of the vision of Sister Pelagia at the monastery of Kekerovuni. The celebration has been established for more than 60 years. Many people come to watch the icon, accompanied by the nuns of the monastery and a crowd of believers transferred to the monastery where Saint Pelagia lived. A festive mass is celebrated there, and in the afternoon a service is held in the cell of Saint Pelagia. Later in the afternoon, the holy icon is returned to her church, surrounded by the clergy and thousands of people.
Ήταν τουρκοκρατία.
Because, as I said, due to the Ottoman occupation, people feared to dig during the day and use the oil lamps they had. They went to the spot and dug at night, the spot where Our Lady indicated the icon was buried. And it is on January the 30th, 1823, that during excavations, a worker from the village of Falatas realized that his pickaxe had struck a wooden object. He bends down, removes the dirt, and discovers that it was the icon of the Virgin Mary.
Ωστόσο όμως η αξίνη το είχε σχίσει στα δύο. Όλοι όσοι ήταν τη συγκεκριμένη στιγμή έτρεξαν.
But it was broken. Everyone who was there at that moment ran, kneeled, sang melted wax in order to join the two pieces of the icon together. Immediately, the news of this discovery was spread all over the island. And from the first day, the miracles of Our Lady started. The first miracle has to do with a spring of holy water, still streaming today, found at that point where the icon was buried. Since then, every year on January the 30th, pilgrims and visitors make the same journey together with the miraculous icon. The first excavations brought to light the ruins of the foundations of the church, marble plates with various inscriptions, articles of religious worship and other things. However, the holy icon, about which the vision of Pelagia spoke, could not be found. Simultaneously, an illness made its appearance on the island with continuously increasing fatal outcomes. Full of fear, the people of Tinos asked for the protection of the Virgin Mary, repenting for the disobedience they had shown to her divine orders. The bishop invited all the inhabitants to resume the excavations. Thus, on January the 1st, 1823, the cornerstone of the Church of the Zoologos Pigi, life-giving well, or of the Evresis, finding, as it has been called after the finding of the icon, was laid. It was January the 30th, 1823. In spite of the great feast of the three hierarchs, the work was continued. By 2 p.m., one of the workers engaged in the transfer of earth felt from the well that his hatchet had struck some wood. He saw that it was a part of the icon.
Είναι άρρηκτα συνδεδεμένη η έβρεση της Αγίας Εικόνος, η οποία χρονικά...
The discovery of the icon is considered inextricably linked to the revolution of the nation against the long-lasting Turkish occupation. When the icon was discovered in the bowels of the Tinian land, it is established that it is the Annunciation, thereby giving the message to the souls of the Greeks that, as Kolokotronis had said, God had signed the freedom of Greece. The icon of the Annunciation, evangelism, that means joy, gave the souls of the Greeks the strength and the faith to fight and to believe with all their heart in the certainty that the time of freedom had come. So, finding the holy icon was closely associated with that struggle of the Greeks, and since then the Virgin Mary is the defender general in the minds of the Greeks. When Theodoros Kolokotronis came to venerate the icon of the Virgin Mary, the first thing he did was to remove his ring and to donate it. Votive offerings, pilgrimages, and all the great fighters ran to the icon of the Virgin. Amongst them Makrianis, Karaiskakis, even Kanaris, who reached Tinos with his ships many times.
Στο όμορφο μοναστήρι σου κάνεις τα θαύματα σου, καράβια αρματώνονται και έρχονται στη χαρά σου.
Ήταν ένας ιονός.
It was an omen which gave strength and courage to cope with the struggle in 1821 that has already begun for the independence of our nation. Before finding the icon, the Temple of the Life-Giving Spring, or simply Zoologos Pigi, which is today on the ground floor of the church, had been completed.
Οι Τινιακοί δεν περιορίστηκαν μόνο.
Tinian people did not only build the Church of Our Lady of Tinos, which they started building immediately, but with money collected throughout fundraising, they started building the beauteous temple you see today. The discovery of the icon of the Annunciation of the Theotokos, literally God-bearer, is the milestone for the construction of the temple with the same name. Evstratios Kalonaris, originating from Tinos, but called Smyrniot because of relocating to Smyrna, was the architect of the temple. The Holy Church of Panagia Evangelistria of Tinos is a triple Christian basilica with a dome above the altar, a reminder of the pre-Justinian Christian church architecture of Byzantium. In these years, projects related to the functionality and access to the Temple of the Blessed Virgins were completed, as well as the surrounding buildings of the temple. There are many donations to build the Megalochari, She of Great Grace, as the church is called by extension, by all parts of Greece and abroad.
Όπως όταν μπει ο προσκυνητής μέσα στο ναό θα δει που δεν θα το συναντήσει αλλού.
On entering the temple, the pilgrim will see what one will not find anywhere else, fraught with vigil lights. Each vigil light was to recount a miracle, a story of a believer, either thanksgiving or a prayer. If you look carefully, you see houses, animals, and people or body parts. All these reveal and suggest a personal story. whole history of the Holy Church of the Megalochari of Tinos, from the first vision of the nun Pelagia and up to today, is full of unquestionably miraculous events.
Γίνεται καθημερινά. Όμως, εγώ θα πρέπει να σας διηγηθώ ένα
A miracle happens every day. But I should tell you about a miracle which I myself experienced as a child. Well, I happened to be in my father's shop when a couple came to buy something. The lady didn't speak, but she only wrote what she wanted, and her husband told us what it was. That same evening during the Holy Week, I saw the lady with her husband going to the church of the Evangelistria, and specifically to the holy water for the lady to drink. As the lady was drinking the holy water, she saw the icon of the Virgin Mary, which is just above the holy water, and said the words, "My Lady." Such was the emotion that really even now I am moved by telling the story. So miracles happen until today.
Έλα Παναγιά μου τη νιακιά με τα πολλά καντήλια, γιατρέψε το παιδάκι μου να σου τα κάμω χίλια.
When entering the Church of Our Lady, we see hundreds of offerings that are hung under the vigil lights. Around the middle of the last century, a vessel sailing in the Mediterranean met with an anticyclone. The ship fought hard, but the wild waves opened a breach in the ship's hold, and it started to sink. The frightened crew, while doing everything in their power to stop the water, sent their warm prayers to the lady for help. At some point, they saw that no more water was gushing into the hull of the sailboat. This seemed strange. They started to use buckets or any other means to empty the water until they reached the first port. It was then that they found out that a big fish was caught in the breech of the vessel, as a result of which the influx of water stopped. They considered this a sign of the divine intervention of the Virgin Mary. Thus, a model of that ship, with the fish in the breech, made of gold and silver, can be seen hanging on one of the big icon lamps of the church. Hundreds of miracles performed by the Panagia are recorded. During one of the first years of the construction of the church, a big English frigate was anchored at the beach of the town, which at that time did not have a harbour. On board the frigate was the English vice-consul, H. Flick, a Catholic by confession. Suddenly, a storm broke out and the frigate was in danger of being crushed on the rocks. The frightened vice-consul saw the church under construction and prayed spontaneously for his salvation and promised a substantial amount of money. The waters were suddenly absolutely calm. The vessel was saved, and the vice-consul, faithful to his promise, went to the church, adored the icon, and deposited at the treasury $100 Spanish, which permitted the continuation of the construction works. There is evidence of miracles which have been confirmed by eyewitnesses. The marble church of the Lady is a work of Tinian artists. Today, each side of the church is defined differently regarding morphology. The facade is an example of eclecticism. The north side, the side of the sanctuary, is typical of the post-Byzantine architecture on islands. Two beauteous and spacious stairs with wide and low steps surround it, while going up the left and right side of the vestibule of the lower church, ending at the exonarthex of the church. Built on the life-giving spring, the Church of Evangelistria is also oriented in the north, which is usual in Tinos due to frequent north winds. In the nave, there are 2 5-arched colonnades that start from the main side of the church, ending at the temple. Sky candelabrum describes Evangelistria because of the number of candles and hung offerings. The temple of the church is in the lower part, and it is made of gilded wood. The upper part is made of plaster with wooden friezes. This temple was completed within a 7-year period. It was made by Athenian craftsmen, marble craftsmen. And not only them, but also by builders who put all the passion that distinguishes the Athenian artist, either craftsman, sculptor, or painter. The Athenian land is the most important place of modern sculpture and painting. Many leading Greek painters and sculptors come from Pyrgos, one of the most beautiful villages in Greece, with lavish marble creations, with a sense of nobility, full of signs of inspiration and creativity. From the marble door frames of the houses, the embossed decorations, the lintels and the taps to the cemetery, with all the marble masterpieces. Masterpieces made by the locals, artists, sculptors and painters, by the marble craftsmen and students. The bell tower of the Church of the Annunciation, which highlights the magnificence of the temple, prevails. The belfry, 29 meters, is the predominant form over the cubic shapes of the buildings. John Philippotis, a leading experienced marble sculptor, built it under the supervision of academic Anastasios Orlandos.
Le Musée des Artistes d'Étinon se trouve près de l'église d'Evagrius.
Miraculous works are housed today in the Museum of Athenian Artists, located near the Church of the Annunciation. It was founded in 1930 on the initiative of the Athenian Association in Athens, with the aim of bringing here the works of Yiannoulis Chalepas, one of the most famous and talented sculptors of his time. The collection was enriched from time to time by works of other sculptors, such as Sophas Philippotis, Vitalis Vouralis, and Vitalis, and works by painters like Gysis, Nikiforos Litras, Nikolaos Litras. It is Tinos, the island of the Cyclades, which, according to mythology, bears the name of a city that existed in Asia Minor, a place which has been sacred for a very long time. It's in Kionia, where the ruins of the Temple of Poseidon and Amphitrite are maintained. A place where Christianity began, motherland of artists, sculptors and painters who have left their mark in the 19th and 20th century. Fertile earth, beautiful sea, corners that are touched by thousands of pigeons in the 1,400 dovecots it counts. Here appears the icon of the Virgin miraculously, announces the freedom of a nation, that of the Greeks, and hears and answers prayers and requests of pilgrims and visitors from all over the world. It is the power of faith that makes Mary a ladder with which God descends to earth, as well as a bridge through which people climb towards the heavens.